Yes, I know, but I always feel like I'm standing up here shouting if I'm talking more than I'm just talking, so. I've spent the last 27 years not trying to do that. We're getting off track real fast right here. Let's open our Bibles this morning to Proverbs chapter 12. A little something different this morning. Proverbs chapter 12. All right. I want to talk this morning about this subject. Can you help the heavy-hearted? Can you? Is it possible? Do you have it in you? Do you have what it takes in you to help someone who's heavy-hearted? The Bible says in Proverbs 12:25, heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. Heaviness in the heart of man. Not a man, just in general. Heaviness. You know, you sit and consider that. Heaviness, what is it? What is heaviness in the heart? Well, it's, for a book that's so old, it describes that feeling better than a lot of more modern descriptions might. You know, you ever there's other words that people use for it now, being depressed or having anxiety or whatever, but is there a better way to put it than just feeling like you're being crushed under a heavy burden? Heaviness in the heart. It's not necessarily even your mind, it's your heart. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop. Maketh what stoop? Your heart. It's more than just your mind. It's something deeper than that, and it just takes you down. It just tends to make everything feel cloudy on sunshiny days. Heaviness in the heart. It's not to be confused with worry, because worry tends to be more about the things that could happen. If you think about it, you worry about tomorrow. You worry about bills, and you worry about the future. But heaviness in the heart tends to be more about stuff that's already happened. That most of the time, almost 100% of the time, you can't do anything about. There's no undoing them. And there's only to cope. To figure out how to scrape together the pieces that's left and put them back together somehow and continue on. And it's heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. You know, grief over loss or abandonment or disappointment or betrayal. Most of the time, that's usually what causes most of heaviness. Loss of some kind, or betrayal, or disappointment in people. Usually that's how it goes. Disappointment in people. And it just, because you can't convince people, you can't convince anybody to do anything, really. I mean, you'd like to think that you can put together a good argument for, here's all the reasons why you should or shouldn't do X, Y, Z. But if it's in the heart of man to do something, that's what they're going to do. And reason, pleading, loyalty, none of that stuff tends to have much of an effect on trying to convince someone else to do something different than what their heart's set on doing. And so that's what makes it such an impossible knot to unravel. And it just is just heaviness. It's just a heaviness that you carry with you. Proverbs 25 verse 11 says this, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pictures of silver. Our scripture, our reference this morning there in 12:25 says, "A good word maketh that heavy heart glad." Does it say it solves the problem of the heaviness? No. Remember I said a lot of times what caused that heavy heart can't be undone. Things are irreversible. But can that heavy heart be made glad? Yes. By what? A good word. Is it implying that, months of counseling and therapy? No, that's not what it says. Is there value in some of that? Well, it depends on who it's coming from, for sure. But yeah, there can be value in good counsel. The Bible talks about it. We'll mention that here in a little bit about counsel. But a lot of times it's not what's required. How often do you... let me ask two questions first. How many people are in your circle of trust that you would go to for counsel over something that was heaviness? I'll just submit that it's not very many. You probably can count all of them on one hand if you need that whole hand. There's not a lot of trust between people anymore, and, there's a lot of reasons why. And we tend to just internalize our heaviness, and we just carry it. Our pride, it's involved in it to a certain degree. We don't want people to know our business. And we also come at it from I don't want to call it a martyr complex, but at the same time, we don't want to burden other people with our problems. They got their problems too. They got their burdens and their heaviness that they're carrying around too. So why would I want to go and just dump on them? So we don't share. We just internalize all this heaviness. So there's not a lot of people you'd go to for counsel. So we don't know what's going on a lot of times in each other's life. And I'm guilty of this myself. There's things that have been going on in our life in this last year no one will ever know about. They won't. The Lord knows, and the Lord's helped us and sustained us and did mighty things, I'll be honest, that we've seen Him do. And I give Him the praise and the glory for it. But more often than not, the people that you're going to be around are not necessarily people that you would consider going to counsel for. Someone that you could trust and rely on to keep your dark secret or this horrible thing that you're facing or whatever. You need to realize what I'm saying is that person that these people are around is you. It's me. Just as much as you are that person for me. So that's why I think it says a good word. If you feel like you have the license, if you will, to be someone's counselor or therapist, you're probably the last person anybody needs to go talk to. Just saying. Sorry for all of the people that went to school for it and everything, but a good word, fitly spoken. What's that mean? Well, it means timely, put in the right place, fitly spoken. Spoken into the time and place in where it fits, in the volume that it needs to be, no more, no less. There's another verse there in Proverbs I read there the other day. It said, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence. Wisdom and prudence live together. Well, what's prudence? It's knowing when to shut up. Knowing when to say something, knowing when to be quiet. Knowing when to give the counsel and knowing when to just say, no, that's the Lord's business or someone else's. Prudence. It's reading the room, so to speak. It's having some discernment. And wisdom lives with that. You're not going to find wisdom with somebody who can't control their mouth or has no concept of knowing when is the wrong time to say the right thing. I think a lot of people do this unintentionally because they really want to be a help. And they really are empathetic towards the plight of someone else, but they'll say the worst thing at the worst time. And it don't make the thing they said wrong, it just was not fitly spoken. And a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. I thought about that for a long time, like what can I compare that to that would be relatable in our modern terms? I mean, there's apples and gold and silver and pictures. I like apples, I guess. Everybody loves silver and gold, but it's like, it's all good things put together in a picture that people want to look at. It's not unpleasant. It's not offensive. It's desirable, and it is beneficial on a different level to the people who look at it. You know, a word fitly spoken. You ever be around someone when the word wasn't spoken fitly to someone else? And the kids now, they say awkward, cringy, and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, man, you want to get out of that place as quickly as possible. It's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. You know, I see people do this with their kids in public places. A child needs to be corrected. I'll be the first advocate for that forever. I'll never stop advocating for correction and reproof in children. They need it. But there's a time and a place. And there's nothing more offensive, and I guess that's the best word to say, just completely offensive to me, than you go in the store and you've got some mom or some dad that wants to take that opportunity to make sure everybody in the store knows that they're correcting their kid. Yelling and screaming at some poor little kid in a cart, making a scene, showing their ignorance and their lack of prudence. Is that going to have any kind of good, positive effect on that child? 100% no. You might as well shut up and let them throw their fit for all the good that you're going to do being ignorant that way. Because why? Because it's not fitly spoken. It's not fitly spoken. Oftentimes when we see heavy-hearted people, you know, people who are just down and depressed and struggling, our impulse is to see them overcome what we perceive to be causing this condition. I want to help you. I can clearly see what's causing your heavy-heartedness. Let me help you. I'm going to tell you some things that's going to help you over the hump. And then you don't have to be heavy-hearted no more because you are really bringing me down. Does that fix the problem? You'll see this in homes between spouses. Why? Because you got to live with them. They got to live with you. So let's just get to the root of this problem. Let's figure this out, hash it out, and then move on. You can stop being such a Debbie Downer over everything. This is not just me directing this at my wife. She's done the same thing to me before too. And you have too. Comes from a great place. I love her. I don't want to see her sad. But sometimes, a lot of times, I can't fix what's making her feel this way. So what does she need from me? A good word. Make her glad. Glad over what? Well, there's all kinds of things to be glad about that can be directly related to the heavy-heartedness. It's a redirection of focus. And that's what we're to be for each other. That's what a good word does. It takes and recognizes where you're at in your horrible circumstance and says, look, I grieve with you for this, but I'm not going to ever leave. And I will help you. I'll carry your water for you right now, if that's what you need. And I'll do this and I'll do that. And I will, fill in the blank. A good word. And then knowing when to say, if you need me, I'm right here. And then go mow the grass or something. Prudence. Why? Let's see here. Let me catch back up with my notes. You know, our impulse to see them overcome what we perceive to be causing this condition tends to override our prudence. And our willingness to look deeper at what's really going on in someone's life and what's causing the issues. Why is that? Why would we be that way? Well, we just want them to be better. And like I said before, we don't want them dragging us down. I mean, look, man, you're a real killjoy to be around. We're all happy and you're over here sad. What's the problem? Well, come on. Here's one that goes a little deeper. Getting too invested in their problems means commitment. If we just try to come in and hype them up so that they'll stop being so depressed, then we don't care about why they're having problems. Well, if they'll just straighten up and get happy, then we don't have to be committed to them and their problems. You go to somebody and you really want to know. You really want them to share their burden with you. Then you're making a commitment to them to be there for them and to help them. And we don't like commitment. Well, that's not true. Yes, it is. We don't, we like the idea of commitment. But then it gets to a certain point and then we start complaining about it and saying, look, I've got enough on my plate. I don't need all of your stupid problems that ain't really problems in the first place. Come on. Stop being such a child. What are you, 10? What's wrong with you? We do that. If we don't say it, we imply it. So we don't want to commit. That's why we want people to just get over their problems. Another thing might be fear that we might not be able to fix them. There's a lot of people in the world that, and from a good place, they are sympathetic. You've heard them called empaths, like they feel other people's, and you see it more in different people. I remember Elizabeth when she was little. Every little bird that fell out of a nest that couldn't fly, she had to save it. Every chicken that hatched with a wonky leg, she had to try to fix it, get it better. Every squirrel that Dad would bring home from the woods, she'd feed it and get it grown. She just always she had a soft heart towards things that needed help. And she would do it. And a lot of people are this way toward other people. But after you've tried to help someone with an impossible situation and you failed, that's a horrible feeling. To see somebody and to see what the problem is and to try to help them and encourage them over this and help them through it, and they just won't be helped. Or the problem is just too big and you can't fix it and you lose them somehow. It breaks, as the old timer said, it breaks an egg in you for being so quick to commit to helping someone else next time. It really does. Another thing that might make us feel this way, like just get over it, is dismissiveness to the severity of their actual problem. So too much gets said, or not enough gets said, or just the wrong things get spoken. And then offense takes place for any or all of these reasons we've went over here. And it causes problems. It causes hatred. It causes bitterness. And then that creates a whole nother set of problems. Proverbs 10:32 says this: the lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh frowardness. The lips of the righteous. Now, from this point on, I want you to start paying attention to these scriptures I'm going to read. And notice the two lanes that there are. It says the righteous, the lips of the righteous know what is acceptable. But the mouth of the wicked, what do we got? We got the righteous, we got the wicked. You say, well, I don't identify as wicked. I identify as righteous because that's what I try to live. Well, good. You should. But you need to understand that, and it's something I feel like we have a big disconnect with. What you do is what you are. It's not the other way around. What you are is what you do. No, what you do defines what you are. And if we're not careful, we completely trying to be righteous and walk righteously will be doing things that the wicked are doing. And we ain't even aware of it. And I'm talking behavioral things. I'm not talking about going out here and, doing hard drugs and getting drunk and crashing into innocent people. And no, I'm not talking about gross sins of the flesh. I'm talking about behavioral things. The way our mind works and thinks and how we reason and understand righteous judgment versus the counsel of the ungodly. Because it can sound very similar sometimes. And so prudence and discernment has to be involved in this, and God has to be the leader of it all, or else you're going to walk after the counsel of the ungodly and try to implement that into righteous things, and it does not work. Doesn't work. Just because you think something needs to be said, and it might need to be said, doesn't always mean that it's the right time to say it, or maybe that you ever should say it. Or maybe that you're not the person that needs to say it. Sometimes a good word does way more good to change the course of someone's day, maybe even their life, than heavy words of counsel. Almost always. Many times in my own experience, my heavy-heartedness cannot be alleviated by someone just pointing out why it's there to begin with. It just makes it worse. I mean, ain't that what Job's friends came and did to him? Exactly what they did. What have you been doing, Job? You've been looking at the young women again? Is that what you've been doing? Let's try to figure out who sinned, his mother or him. Like that's what they said about the blind man, right? That Jesus healed. Who sinned, his parents or him, that he came out blind? Like, well, how could he have sinned and been guilty of that before he was born? Do you see how undone that reasoning is? But why? Because we always got to find somebody or something to blame every problem on. And we are always at the end of that list, if we're even on it. It's always circumstances or other people that we have to, well, if you hadn't done this, or if this hadn't happened, or if that, then I wouldn't be in this circumstance. No, just talking about the problems that's not really a good word now, is it? I mean, if I know that you're going through the ringer, and then I come to you and say, you want to talk about it? Well, of course you don't want to talk about it. Most people don't want to talk about the thing that's grinding them away. And if you have enough wisdom and understanding about things, a lot of times you can read the situation and instead, look, with the full knowledge and awareness of what they're going through, or at least knowing they're going through something horrible, instead of coming to the table and trying to get something from them so that then you can, theorize it out, just bring a good word. Just something good. Do you have anything good that you can bring to someone else? Every once in a while, in the summer like this or in the winter, I'll go by Turnbow's to get some lumber or whatever. And I'll stop by the gas station. A lot of times they'll have them Gatorades like 3 for $6 or something like that. And I'll just buy a bag of Gatorades and go out on the yard and just pass them out to the guys working on the yard. Or a cup of hot coffee in the wintertime, or hot chocolate. They like hot chocolate. That's what they like. You would not believe how much it just brightens their day to get a cold drink on a hot day. Well, that's what a good word is like. It's like somebody finding you at the moment you're just the hottest and most thirsty and giving you an ice cold glacier cherry Gatorade. Has anybody ever done that for you? Just picked you up. Did it make the heat go away? Why, no. They drank that Gatorade in 5 minutes, and then guess what? It's still 100 degrees. But it meant something. It just picked them up just a little bit. God didn't call us to solve everybody else's problems. That's His department. Our job, our duty to each other is to help each other through today. Through today. That's what it is. Words of encouragement. Good words bring a ray of hope into a dark place and inspire the possibility of some gladness. Don't you want to be that for people? Heavy-hearted people have to have a few things from those who care about them in order to be helped by them. Now, this is important. And I don't want it to sound cliche or even, I don't want it to sound worldly, so just listen. Just hear me out. They need some things from the people that say they care about them in order to be helped by them. Because look, there's people that I know care about me and they try to help and it's no help. Okay? First thing that they need is they need understanding. And now understand what I'm saying. They need to be understood. But they also need to have confidence in the fact that you have some understanding. There has to be a relatableness between the two parties here. There has to be a relationship. There has to be trust. There has to be some confidence in each other. In order for them to even hear you. Understanding, okay? Understanding. They need to feel safe with you. What's that mean? Well, that hails to trust. If I tell him, is he going to go tell everybody? If I tell him my problems, is he going to let it slip in the wrong circle and then it's going to get out and everybody's going to know and it's so embarrassing and I don't want people to know. They have to feel safe to be helped by you, okay? And they have to know that they're loved by you. It's one thing to care or be concerned, but it's another thing when you love someone. Everybody in this room's probably got problems that you don't tell nobody about. And everybody you pass out on the street and everything, they do too. But what are the ones that keep you awake at night? The most. They're about the ones you love. And that's what we're supposed to be for each other. Beloved, let us love one another. If you love someone, you'll care about what they're going through. You'll have prudence. You'll have a good word. There will be words fitly spoken and not any not fitly spoken. There'll be some concern on your part to not do that to somebody. And in your desire to help someone, hold yourself to a certain standard so you can be for them what you need to be. Why? Because you love them. Do you feel that way about your kids? When my kids were young, or even before we had kids, I guess, but when they were young, I had this premonition in my mind that there was a line somewhere out there where I would stop. If they went too far, if they wouldn't do this or that or the other, I was only going to do so much. And then from that point on, I was just doing more harm than good. I haven't found that line yet. Just don't matter. It just does not matter what happens, what they do. I love them. And I'll give the last of everything I am if it means they make it through somehow. It's because I love them. What if we felt that way about each other? Truly. Let's just be real liberal here and just say, what if we felt that way about each other 75%? How much of a difference would it make in the things that I would say or wouldn't say? You know, what I would be willing to do and how far out there I'd be willing to put myself out there to help somebody. I think it would make a difference. I think it would. When those things are developed in relationships with people in everyday life, then when heavy times come, then you have somewhere to start and something to work with. Proverbs 10:13 says, "In the lips of him that hath understanding," there it is. The first one on the list, understanding. "In the lips of him that hath understanding, wisdom is found. But a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding." Not wisdom, understanding. You don't get wisdom until there's some understanding. And it's not just understanding them or their circumstance, but that you have some understanding and wisdom from your own experience. It helps so much when you talk to somebody and they can relate because they've walked this path before you. That's why sometimes it's not my place to say the word fitly spoken, because it might be better for you to go talk to them because you've been through this thing they're going through and you know. Proverbs 11:14 says this, "Where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors there is safety." That's why it's really important to have more than just one person that you get all your information from. You know, that is one of, if you look up what the definition of a cult is, that's one of the things in the descriptions of what defines a group as a cult, is that they only get all their information from one person. About God, about life, about money, about religion, whatever it is, they only look to this one man or woman for all truth and understanding and wisdom. Well, that's not where that comes from. I'll promise you that. And that's why there's so many cults in this world and weird religions. You look into it from the outside looking in, and it is, how can people believe that? That is as goofy as the dumbest science fiction movie I've ever watched, and they believe it. They give their life for it. Give their kids to it. In a multitude of counselors, there is safety. No counsel. I'm sorry, let me read this. Counselors come from the presence of wisdom. You know, that's why it's... If you're having problems, let's say you're having marriage problems, are you going to go to some 22-year-old guy that ain't never been married to get counsel about what you should do with your marriage? No, you're going to try to find some old gray-headed fella that's been married to his wife for 50 years. And they're happy. Better throw that in because a lot of them ain't no more. That's who you're going to go try to get some advice from. And, that's, counselors, somebody who is trustworthy in that department, it comes from the presence of wisdom because of life and experience. Many counselors, yet all subscribed to one understanding. Oops, forgot about that thing being on there. And the multitude of counselors, well, you could say, well, man, you asked 10 people. How many times? You can ask 10 people the same question and get 10 different answers on pretty much anything. But that's because it's mostly all based on opinion anymore about anything, including God. So that's why it's a big red flag for me if I go to somebody that I, would try to ask some counsel from, and they tell me one thing. And I go over there and they tell me something else. And I go over there and they tell me something else. It kind of is revealing to me that I'm not asking the right source. In the multitude of counselors, but they're all following after righteousness, you're going to get the same answer as to what you should do. Why? Because they're not following man, they're following God. Following God. Proverbs 10:12 says this, hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins. Hatred stirreth up strifes, plural. Does that mean the existence of hatred is why people fight? No. You allowing hatred in your life is going to make you a person nobody can get along with. Why? Because hatred rules your life. You hate the heat. You hate the cold. You hate not getting to go on vacation. You hate your hourly rate that you work for. You hate your job. You hate your car. You hate the neighbor's dog. You hate having to mow grass. You hate everything is just because it's not what you want. So you hate it. That stirs up strifes in other people's lives. You know, I don't like being around people that are full of hatred. Because you want to know what? They're going to wind up hating me too. Before it's over, they'll find some reason to hate me. They're not safe. Can't trust them. They have no understanding about life. They can't be content in anything. And it's ruled them so long, now they hate stuff. Hate stirreth up strife. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins. That's why people need to know you love them. Because sometimes people's problems are so shameful, that's why they don't want to tell you, because you won't love me if I tell you this. So real love, charity for someone will always be recognized by the receiver as being greater and more important and more powerful than their heaviness or whatever's causing it. That should be the essence of our spirit that people perceive from us, is that it doesn't matter how bad it is, they're not going to throw me away. They're not going to throw me away. The constant in these scriptures is the night and day contrasting between the two factions of the righteous and the wicked. And I'll finish up with this. The effectiveness of your counsel or your good word rises or falls on which camp you're in. It just does. The same can be said about the source of the good words that you receive from others. There's a lot of people that will try to help you and encourage you. They might say something that picks you up. That don't mean they're a reliable source for truth. I'll just put that out there. But, just because somebody says something that makes you feel better right now, don't mean that they're going to lead you in the right path forever on everything. You got to consider their path. Do they walk after righteousness? Or do they follow the counsel of the ungodly? Well, you can't judge people. Yeah, but you can look at people. You can see. I've heard hateful people say really nice things to people too. I've seen hateful people give vast amounts of money to help the poor or the destitute. And yet they hate their family. How can that be? Well, there it is. Does that mean because they were benevolent in this way that then they're trustworthy to go and get counsel from? No, they're hateful people. So you have to consider the path that people are walking. Consider your path. Proverbs 11:9 says this, a hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor. Why? Because he's always just cussing him and saying terrible things about him to all the other neighbors? No. He may try to say something really good to him and lead him off down a path that is destructive. He says he destroys his neighbors. But through knowledge shall the just be delivered. The good word from a hypocrite or the wicked, actually destroys the person he's supposed to be making glad. Why? It's because it's the counsel of the ungodly. The Bible says that sin, there's pleasure in sin for a season. So does it surprise you that some good word could come from a wicked person? Shouldn't. It just ain't sustainable. It's not sustainable. Walk in the ways of righteousness and pursue the righteousness of God. That's how you'll stay in the righteous path. Then your good words will be from Him and not from your own wisdom and bias. And your good word will bring gladness to the heavy-hearted and not destruction. It won't destroy somebody's life. Just something to consider. Can you help the heavy-hearted? Yeah, you sure can. We should want to help the heavy-hearted. Amen.